Hello, everyone, and um, I'm again with my mother up in the beautiful wilderness in our very rustic place here, with all of the wonderful graces and gifts and blessings. And so, thank you so much for your feedback. I'm so grateful to you and for your questions. And this week, I've been thinking about um, sanctuary and isolation, and having some conversations this last week about isolation and connection, and what that means, and about sanctuary, and what a sanctuary is, and what does it mean to be a sanctuary. And I always like to begin with a prayer, a poem, or a song, or a chant, or some way to invite in the mystery, and also to ask permission of the world. How can we ask permission of the world that is taking such good care of us, and to be respectful in this beautiful home, in the sanctuary we've been provided? And so, great mystery, I thank you, Creator, Creatrix, Mother, Father, God, all that is not. Ale Yamachi Parvati Ganesha Kuan Yin Kuan Kong Christ, Ava Maria and Gakanya. Power Animals, Allies, Mohammed, Buddha, Allah Okami, Hanabku, Hanalye, Yum, Yahweh. We thank you, great and beautiful mystery, the many ways that you express yourself and that you share yourself with us. We're so grateful for your many names and many ways, and for the ability to touch divinity. We're asking that we can see the divinity in this time, and that you will help us to make whatever prayers are most essential to be made at this time. And we thank you for the earth, for her care of us. And we ask that you will guide us, that you are the greatest guidance system. And we ask that you will assist us and guide us in this time with real life, with true life. That you will help us to be true to life, and to support those who need it in whatever ways we can. Thank you so much, and help us to choose life, and help us to choose to support those who are crossing and going into the other world, and help us to be, in whatever ways that we can, aware to those who are arriving in this world from the invisible world. Their souls are finding their bodies and coming here to be with us, and alighting on the sweet face of Mother Nature. Please come and be with us, Creator. Bless us, guide us to do the right thing and to be the people that you would have us be. Thank you, beautiful mystery. Thank you, Creator. Wakan Tanka. Welcome. There's always room for you here in this conversation. This is your conversation. We turn it over to you. Oh, amen. And so I always like to, and I like to do that every day too. I like to thank you. I like to, begin with gratitude, and I always like to start my day with gratitude, uh, and be open, and allow those reflections to be with me. So I also, as I've been thinking about the sanctuary, about sanctuary, and about uh, isolation. Um, I've been thinking about this, and I think that really we've been at this for a while. Like the isolation, it's not like, oh, we just started isolating. Like we've been isolating for, I don't know, a while, a lot more than a couple of years now. So, and it's interesting the different ways that we will do that, and it's so interesting how we have not entered into this agreement around connection. One of the things that I notice, and have noticed over the last few years in the cities that I've been in many of the cities here in the States, is that oftentimes people kind of have their heads down, and I thought not too long ago, like, oh well, it's really hard for things to look up if we're not looking up. You know what I mean? Like, because I have a bird, I love birds, and I think birds just add so much joy and pleasure and beauty to my life, and I just love them. So I'm always looking up to look for the birds and to see if there are any birds around. And it's amazing to me that no matter where you are in the world, there's always birds, and the birds are here, and birds are cross culturally, they are a symbol of spirit. And so, you can have the dove. The dove is a symbol for spirit, and then you have, birds like, the grouse or the pheasant that are also of the earth, that are of the earth and of the spirit. And so it's interesting to think about that. But when we think about, um, these opportunities that we have to connect, I think not only about with other human beings, but I also think about our connection to the natural world and to what is good, true, and beautiful, and what is natural, that is around us. And so, when I'm thinking about a sanctuary and creating a sanctuary for myself and creating a sanctuary for others, do I have that capacity? Do I have that capability? And what does it mean to create a sanctuary? And so this is a book by James Baldwin, and this is called Jimmy's Blues and Other Poems. And it has an introduction by Nikki Finney. And I wanted to share this poem. I've been reading this poem over the last couple of months, and I wanted to share it with you. It's a ballad for Yoran. And number one: started to leave and couldn't go for a yes or for a no. Watched the silver tracks turn black as my lover's back. Stood there through the night, watched the black turn white. Started to leave, but couldn't go for a yes or for a no. Heard the thunder, saw his face. Lightning played around the place where I stood and couldn't go for a yes or for a no. 2. The hardest thing of all is hearing the silence fall. Or no, to see it, touch it, watch silence take a form, watch silence proudly stride between connecting rooms, hear silence ride between you and all others, you and you. Oh, brother, say, I couldn't hear nobody pray. 3. The silence coming yonder is far from grief and brings relief. Beyond time, there is no wonder, there is no crime. They say, brother, just between me and you, tell me if it's true. They say silence brings no anguish where only silence lives. Negatives, affirmatives. They say silence brings no anguish where only silence lives. Negatives, affirmatives. And this is by James Baldwin, and this is the ballad for Yoran. And I appreciate this interaction with silence. This in the poem, I feel like there are all of these different forms and ways and kinds of interacting with the silence, hearing the silence fall. Started to leave and couldn't go for a yes or for a no. I couldn't hear nobody pray. The silence comes yonder is far from grief and brings relief. The silence brings no anguish where only silence lives. So when I think of shelter and sanctuary, when I think of connection, I think of silence. And that there are many different kinds of silence that we can be in a silence that is connecting, or we can be in a silence um, that is destructive or terrifying. We can be in a silence that is loving and that is a deep comfort to our hearts. And so, when I think about the silence, I wonder, if we can carry a silence and be connected in that silence and see that silence as its own sanctuary, and not use our silence as a way to isolate or to block, other people or other experiences, ourselves and the world. I was talking in the last conversation, in the last medicine talk, we were talking about a little bit about the lungs and about grief. The last talk was about grief and moving with the grief. And one of the things that my amazing students, who I learned so much from, and I've worked with many healers, and among those healers, there's some brilliant acupuncturists, and those acupuncturists taught me about how the lungs are the place where we hold grief. And I think that's very interesting that as a collective, we're being faced with this, collective. I believe there's a collective grief that we're being faced with at this time, and how do we address that, and how do we work with that? And so I think that what we have right now is we have this ability, instead of thinking that we're in an isolated time, that we can begin to reflect and to introspect, like, how can I be in a place of reflection and in a place of introspection, and how can I have that reflection and introspection also be a place of safety and connection, um, with the people that I love, and the people and the places and the things and the beings and the planet, and all of the loves that I have, all of the embraces, and things that I am, things and people and places that I'm also a sanctuary for. And so sanctuary is not only something that protects and cares for us, but also a sanctuary is a safe place. So what do I do to create sanctuary? What do I do to create safety? And am I a safe place? Is there a safe place, to land with me? Am I able to find safe landing places? And I think it's, no matter where we are in our lives, no matter what our experience is, there's always something or someone in our lives, some angel, some ally, some guardian, some helping human being or spirit, uh, that has helped us along the way, and that has taught us about safety, that has been, even for a moment, a sanctuary. And I think that, we can say our home's a sanctuary, but as human beings, I believe that we're really called to be sanctuaries for one another. And I believe that if we can look at one another's faces, if we can touch hearts, if we can allow ourselves, even though we can't be touching in a physical way, we can feel the presence of someone else moving in our hearts. And I won't mention any names, but today I was doing some sessions and some mentoring sessions and some visionary sessions, and I've developed this type of work called consciousness of the heart work, where you can move your consciousness into someone else's heart, like literally place your consciousness into the heart of someone else, and provide visionary gifts, and also healing work for someone in that place and from that place of consciousness. And I was with someone today in a session, and she said, "Oh, I can feel you. I can feel you." And of course, with my sessions and with my patients, I've been doing telemedicine and doing things through Zoom mostly, and just the knowledge that we can feel one another, especially if we have the opportunity to be a sanctuary of safety and belonging for another human being. And so I would ask us to acknowledge that in this time of reflection and sanctuary, we're also moving into another season, and that the season that we're moving into is summer. We're going to be moving into summer very soon. And summer has a whole different purpose than spring. Spring has its own purpose of planting seeds and nurturing seeds, and summer has the gifts of cultivation and of nurturing and giving energy to what we're growing, the seeds that we've planted emotionally, spiritually, physically, whether that's in the garden of our heart, the garden of our minds, the garden of our harvest that we hope to harvest later in the year. But all of the gardens we plant, we have to harvest, whether they're emotional or spiritual or physical. And so just the recognition that our actions and our thoughts and our words can be a sanctuary and a safe place or not. um, and so, to recognize that we have this opportunity at this time to really set our intentions and to be able to, and even more than intentions, it's like, what is my prayer? And if you don't pray, if you're not a praying person, then you can say, well, what are my intentions? Or you can also say, well, what are my thoughts about what I want to create? You can go to quantum physics town if you want to, however you want to do it, that's fine. But what's important is that, we're able to direct our attention, that we're able to reflect, and then we're able to affect, that we're able to have a positive effect in the world. And we're going to follow our thoughts. That's what we're going to do. We're going to follow our thoughts. We're going to follow our consciousness. We're going to follow what comes into our consciousness and what we think about. That's what we're going to follow. And the psyche will do that naturally. So, however you want to do it, just simply that ability to say, well, where do I want to put my attention? Where do I want to put my force? Where do I want to put my energy at this time? And how can I see this time, uh, or make the time if I don't have the time right now? How can I allow this enough spaciousness to go into the silence, and to reflect? Something that I really appreciate is that every summer, because I'm a teacher, so and and I, just simply follow the school calendar year for Bastyr, usually university, which is a sacred place where healers are trained, and it's a really beautiful campus also. But what I find that, each year during the summer, I will go and have time to myself. If it's a week, 7 days, without my phone, without any conversations with anyone else, but at least a week, maybe even two, where I do deep, deep listening, and remembering. And the silence is a choice that I make. I mean, perhaps I'm in a place where, there may be a few other people, but I usually go to the wilderness somewhere away from folks. And, sometimes I'll go to a place that, a forest or camping, or, something like that, to a cabin. And just take that time to do a deep reflect on where I've been and on where I want to go. And so that's a place, or a yearly practice that we can do. We can also do a monthly practice that's similar to that, where maybe we take a day. We can do a daily practice where maybe we take 15 or 20 minutes in the beginning of the day to just go into the silence and do deep listening. So our practice for these next few days over the weekend will be to allow ourselves to pay attention to what is the quality of silence in my life. Do I allow silence? Are there so many sounds around me that I can't even hear myself think? And I think that that's one of the things that is causing some of our issues right now, is that we really can't hear ourselves think. There's so much technology at this time. And so, what we want is we want to be able to step back toward ourselves and to be connected with ourselves in a deep friendship. Because if we can honor that deep friendship with ourselves and be a friend to ourselves and set limits and boundaries with ourselves about how we spend our time and where we spend our time and who we spend our time with, then we have that ability to really extend that level of friendship to another human being. And I believe that that is, as I spoke about in the last talk, it's the one of the ways that we heal the grief that we are carrying, in addition to, of course, expressing it in ways that are healthy and that are health engendering for ourselves and the people we care about. And so, what are the voices of comfort that come from my own heart? And how can I access that in that deep silence as places of comfort for myself and in the lives of all my loves? How can I be a comfort and a sanctuary in the silence? And how can I experience that connection and really open my heart to receive the connection, and that someone else is conscious of me and thinking of me? And so, in that silence, to send our thoughts of well being and healing and care to one another. And so, I would like to close today with some words from John Lame Deer from this text, Earth Prayers from Around the World, 365 prayers, poems, and invocations for honoring the earth. And it's edited by Elizabeth Roberts and Elias Amadon. And it says, listen to the air. You can hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it. Listen to the air. You can hear it, feel it, taste it. Wania, Wakan, the holy air which renews all by its breath. Wania, Wakan, life, spirit, breath, renewal. Spirit, life, breath, renewal. It means all that. We sit together, don't touch, but something is there. We feel it between us as a presence, a good way to start thinking about nature. Talk about it, rather talk to it. Talk to the rivers, to the lakes, to the winds, as to our relatives. Listen to the air. You can hear it, feel it, taste it, smell it. Listen to the air. You can hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it. Listen to the silence. Listen to the silence. It knows everything. It knows all the things. Thank you so much, and may you receive sanctuary and be a sanctuary to others in ways that are healing and filled with wonder and empowering for all and supportive for all. And thank you so much, and I will talk with you next Wednesday. Thank you. Walk in beauty.